radio where you have no idea who your audience is listening, and then billboards, again, don't really know who the audience is. You're just putting up some real estate in a place where a lot of people go by. And then, endorsement deals with athletes, but oftentimes, the athlete is obviously going to pick whoever's going to pay them the most. And, I feel like we're getting more and more towards kind of the entourage way of marketing, where it's just like things that you incorporate into your life shown through documenting your lifestyle.
This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're always trying to get your vibes right. I'm Ryan Alford, your host. Our good buddy, Chris down in Miami, my co-host. What's up, brother?
What's up, Ryan? How are you today, big dog?
Hey, man, I'm pumped. Literally. I'm looking at six packs. I'm looking at food I like to eat. And I'm just happy that we got Eric Hinman on the show. What's up, Eric?
What's up, Ryan? What's up, Chris? How you guys doing?
We're great, man. I'm feeling a little, I don't always, I'm a big dude. I work out, but sometimes I get my bro love going, man, this dude is crushing it. 5-time Ironman, serial entrepreneur. He's an influencer. He's an outfluencer. He's whatever it is. He's had it all going on.
Thank you, my man. Yeah, I like to work out a lot.
Yeah, exactly. He must work out. That was the first thing see a picture of Eric. It's like, from Tumbling Boy, or what was it, Dumb and Dumber? He must work out. It's like, you can't hide it, bro, man. I respect. That's all I got to say. The one word, I was like, respect.
Thank you, my man. Yeah, I love it. I mean, ultimately, I do it now because of the way I feel. There certainly was a period of time where I was doing it for the aesthetic, but I always say now that the aesthetic is a byproduct. Like, I look forward to all of my CrossFit workouts, the majority of them. I look forward to almost all of my mountain bike rides. Like, I've picked activities that I really enjoy. And, I just like that high that I get afterwards. I like the mental clarity. I like the energy. So, that's why I do it day in and day out.
I got a weird first question down that same road. Chris and I love to get underneath, how people are wired. That's kind of how this is, talking to people. Trying to encourage, the point of the show is encouraging, uplifting, sparking other people to be their best selves through natural, alternative, mainstream, not mainstream ways. But I look at a guy like you and I'm like, first I go question one's like nature or nurture. And then I'm like, did Eric just sort of, some of us go down the road of alcohol and drugs that we get high on, but Eric just found the right road, the healthy road to get high on, is it just a matter of getting people on the right road versus the wrong road? Those are two very different questions, Eric, but that's just kind of where my mind went. Nature or nurture for you? And, how did you get down the right path?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely partied hard in college and in my 20s, and I found myself pretty out of shape by my mid to late 20s. And I hired a personal trainer when I was 27 years old to get back into aesthetically decent looking shape. And it really wasn't until then that I started to recognize that correlation between, how I was feeling and the exercise. I always previously thought exercise was, to perform in your sport or to have this certain aesthetic. I didn't have that correlation of feeling. And that's ultimately what I got obsessed with. I was doing CrossFit type workouts with that personal trainer before I knew what CrossFit even was. I mean, we're talking back in 2008, 2007. And, then when I found CrossFit, all of a sudden it lended the competitive side, which I enjoy. I played team sports in high school. I ran cross country. I ran track. I played basketball. So when I showed up at the CrossFit gym, I was like, oh, this is exercise with competition. I get to go against other people and the clock. This is cool. So, I became obsessed with CrossFit, and then ultimately also triathlon, where, triathlon is a very individual sport, and it takes years to build the engine and durability to be an elite Ironman athlete. And I just became obsessed with the process of it. And, through that, my friend group changed. What I looked forward to on the weekends changed. Like I wanted to go to bed earlier so I could hit a long run or a long bike ride with my new friends that I made through triathlon. So yeah, I think it was a component of, I found a new way of living that satisfied the social, craving that I had with all fueled by alcohol and fueled by parties. But I found it through wellness. I found it through triathlon. I found it through the CrossFit gym. And I think that's an important thing to recognize, is that it's really hard to give up a bad habit if you don't replace it with something else, especially when that habit is, there's multiple things you're getting out of that habit. I felt good when I was drinking alcohol. I felt like I could be vulnerable. That's how I was meeting girls. That's how I was bonding with friends. That's how I met new people. And then, when I didn't want that anymore because I found a new way to get all of that, I was able to give it up. And, now 15 years later, I don't even think about that party lifestyle anymore because I just can't wait to go on, my long mountain bike ride with my friends this weekend in Leadville. And I can't wait to hit the CrossFit gym with a crew tomorrow and fist bump everybody after we overcome this hard workout together. So yeah, it was gradual. And again, it was like changing one activity out for another. And then that activity led to new friends and new habits and new behaviors and ultimately a whole new lifestyle.
I think that's, probably as well put as I've ever heard someone kind of describing that flip of the switch. And if you're listening and you've struggled with these things or done these things, Eric makes a lot of great points for how to, you have to replace it. I think there's kind of like this belief, cold turkey, right? Anything. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yes, but you do need to have a healthy replacement or something to spend your time with or something to do that fills up those same holes, that you're sort of cleaning out. And I know, Chris, you've been through this. You can speak to it more eloquently than me.
Oh, dude, after you finished talking, I just wanted to say, fuck yeah. You nailed it. That's because even what you were describing is kind of what I feel like I'm in that evolution now. I quit drinking 4 years ago. And, it part of it, you're fighting the societal norm but what you said, I think was the root of it is community. People are looking for community, vulnerability, safety. And our default, I think we were all kind of taught, was alcohol or partying, the bar, right? That was how you bonded, especially as a man, to have some beers with the boys. And I've shifted out of that now where, like you said, I'm stoked to see my boys at the gym and everyone's putting in work and, just hey bro, you look good. You look good. Like you said, you go into that challenge, you're going to war together and then you come out. I prefer that feeling now over the bar, right? But you really do need to find a replacement. And that, when I gave up that lifestyle, fitness has become my addiction, if you want to call it that. But
it's a good addiction, though. It's an addiction without the consequences. Can you take fitness to an extreme? Yeah. But for the most part, you get that high, but no consequences. And generally, it's just the snowball effect in a positive direction. You're generally going to make better eating choices. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have more mental clarity. You're probably going to have more creativity. You're probably going to sleep better. You might get into recovery modalities. You're going to meet new friends who reinforce these positive behaviors. And, by doing hard things, it conditions you to be better at dealing with hard things that you don't want to come up. A family member gets sick or you get fired. All of a sudden you've built up this stress resilience. And also you have this crutch to lean on. Obviously that's why a lot of people lean on alcohol or drugs, is because they need this crutch to lean on. And, fitness, sauna, cold exposure, these are crutches that I lean on if I'm in a bad mood or I had a shitty day. I know that those things will put me back in a really good place.
Yep.
Where did you find your sort of entrepreneurial footing, Eric? Obviously, doing the Ironman, getting all these help. You got a lot of help, business you're involved in. Talk about some of those businesses and maybe, what sort of flipped that entrepreneurial switch for you.
Yeah, a couple things. My dad managed a small mutual insurance company for years, 30 years. And I grew up watching him lead people and knew I always wanted to just create my own destiny and be a leader. In high school, I shoveled roofs for money to go on vacations, and in college to be able to go on spring break. And, I enjoyed that I was, again, creating my own destiny with that and making money based on my services. And when I was in college, I knew that I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. And my dad gave me a really good opportunity right out of college to start my own insurance agency. So literally the week after graduating, I enrolled in the property and casualty insurance course in upstate New York and got my insurance license 3 weeks later, and had a company car, small salary. And, for 2 years, it was hard. I was going door to door, hearing no often. And it wasn't until I landed on like a specific niche, specifically campgrounds and marinas in upstate New York, that I found my way. Then I started to build a nice book of business and recognized that if you specialize in something and become a thought leader in something, you can grow it much faster than being a jack of all trades. And, people started name dropping me as the specialist in campground and marina insurance in New York State. I really enjoyed being able to define my own destiny based on my work. And so I did that from 2002 until 2009. And most people don't know, I still own that business. And ironically, my dad has been managing that business for me for the last 4 or 5 years now. And then I started a software company with a business partner and friends. It was called Rounded. And we built mobile applications early in the app revolution, 2009, when, these Apple devices were just becoming really popular and the App Store had just come out. We were building mobile apps for consumers and for businesses. And we partnered with some Syracuse University students who were app developers, website designers, graphic designers, and they did the back end work. And then we were the business development guys that sold the solutions to customers. And then during that time period, I got into Ironman, started living my life based on health and wellness. And I opened up a CrossFit gym in 2013 with some business partners in upstate New York. And then I met my business partner in several restaurants that I opened through the gym, healthy, fast, casual restaurants. So with each business, it's become more and more just based around a problem I want to solve for myself and a passion I have at the time. And, I honestly have fallen into this world that I'm in now of content creation and influencer marketing of just over, a 14-year period, posting every single day and adding a little bit of value every single day. And, now have built a considerable audience. And, I work with early stage wellness brands and helping them get the word out about their products. And it goes beyond just posting content for them, which is, what the outside eye sees. I'm investing in many of these brands I work with. I'm raising SPVs. I'm raising money for many of these brands I work with. I'm putting on community events and ambassador retreats for many of these brands I work with. And our house has kind of become a showroom for a lot of these early stage brands. We have a beautiful view of the mountains. We call our house Muscle Mountain. So, we do a lot of like early product shoots and content that you'll see on these various brands' websites here at the house.
That's the way to do it, though, man. I mean, we're not an influencer. Like, I do another show that's business and marketing. But, like, talk about living the brand, like, and bringing it to life. You're doing it the right way. Like, it's the game of...
The new way.
Yeah, it's the new way. It's the right way. But it's like, I call it, like, back in the day with marketing, I'd call that integrated. Like, It's integrated into your life. All these things, like you're the spoken hub, like, you're there in the nucleus of Eric Hinman. He's a health and wellness guru and specialist. And then you're building your whole life and lifestyle with these products and services that truly are authentic. You're doing it at home. You're doing it for work. You're doing it as life. I mean, dude, you need to write a book just on that. I'd buy it and promote it, because that's the way it should be done. Because the day of like influencers sort of you get sent a product and you try it and you show it. You could do that, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, there's still value at that if it's the right person and it's authentic, but you're doing it the right way. And I think the brands are, I just have to imagine, are benefiting from it holistically.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like, marketing has changed. It was, radio where you have no idea who your audience is listening, and then billboards, again, don't really know who the audience is. You're just putting up some real estate in a place where a lot of people go by. And then, endorsement deals with athletes. But, oftentimes, the athlete is obviously going to pick whoever's going to pay them the most. And, I feel like we're getting more and more towards kind of the entourage way of marketing, where it's just like things that you incorporate into your life shown through documenting your lifestyle. And yeah, I think that's a much better way for brands to market, because it builds brand. It's not just like hard selling. It's literally building brand identity through the people that love your brand. And then, the people that are following your lifestyle, that, are emulating certain parts of your lifestyle, obviously they're going to buy into the things that you enjoy and that have helped you in your journey.
Yeah. Chris, I know we were talking pre-episode with Eric. I'm going to let you go down a couple paths here that you had started down. We were talking with Eric pre-episode, so I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, it was a little bit what we touched on, but when it comes to working with these brands, because I totally agree. I think the landscape is shifting in how marketing is reaching consumers. Obviously you're doing the content creation. What else from like a strategic consultation do you do for these companies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been playing in this game for a while now of content creation, and, I've met a lot of other content creators and ambassadors for brands. So I'm helping them identify really good product market fit for others they can work with. I think that's something that's just come with time, and it's come with connections. So, let's say I had a call with a company that they provide this exercises for your tongue so that you can sleep better at night instead of having to get like a CPAP machine. And, do some people follow me for sleep? Sure. But I'm not known as like a sleep thought leader by any means. So I'm like, hey, these are the 5 people that you should talk to that have incredible product market fit, that, their audience follows them specifically for guidance on sleep. Like, work with them. Don't work with me as your initial ambassador. Like, that's the really important thing for any of these companies building an ambassador program or just building out their marketing funnel, is what is the product market fit? Who's your audience, and who is speaking to that audience in a very authentic way, because they're going to be the highest converters for you. So behind the scenes, that's a lot of what I'm doing, is just I'm playing matchmaker. I'm also connecting the founders of brands with the founders of brands. I do in-person retreats called Founders Only, where I curate them with about 35 founders of early stage wellness companies. And a lot of times these founders are kind of in their own little bubble. They're busy. They have a team, and, they're just executing on a daily basis. So it's been cool to see friendships and just people trading knowledge, people trading connections, and, everyone thriving from, interacting with like-minded people doing very similar things in the world. So yeah, I mean, if there's one superpower I have, it's matchmaking. I love connecting people that I know will benefit from meeting each other.
That's a great characteristic to have. The whole network, like networking on steroids, literally, when you can, connect the dots for people, and you put yourself at the center of a lot of opportunities potentially, right? Because you get to hear, like things that are happening, and plug yourself in where you can add value or you see opportunity, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Is I look at a lot of things I do as multitasking without multitasking. So, for example, tonight, I told you before we jumped on the recording that I have the founder of Cool Down Running coming over to sauna, and we're going to chat about collaborating on the world's toughest mile and his massive run club. Tonight for recovery, I could do Normatec boots. I could sit by myself on this couch behind me, and I could get some recovery in with Normatec boots. But, we chose to build our home as this hosting and wellness oasis. A, because I enjoy it, but B, like, it's attracting amazing opportunities and amazing people into my life. So no longer do I have to chase. I don't have to go to, some networking events. Our house is this authentic networking event every single night with people coming over here to do contrast therapy. So yeah, I mean, I think the advice from that is think about the things you're doing, and you could go into the gym and you could deadlift, or you could do like some isolated forearm movement. And if you're not a bodybuilder, then, probably the deadlifting is where you're going to get more bang for your buck. So just in everything in life, I look at that as like, am I getting multiple benefits from doing one thing?
Eric, I like to ground things, like for the audience and everything like that. So, a guy like Eric who's figured out like the healthy habits, you figured out sort of the hub with marketing and all that. Like, what are the inhibitions or bad? Like, what's a bad day for Eric Hinman? Like, obviously it's not, grabbing a beer and drinking too much or like that. So like, what's the bad side? Nobody's got it perfect.
What's Eric doing a cheat day?
Yeah. I'll tell you guys a funny story. So I have dessert pretty much every night, and it's a healthy dessert. It used to be almond butter, nut butters back in my triathlon days, to the point where I got to eating one full jar of almond butter every single night. But I'm burning 5,000 calories a day during those years, training 3 to 4 hours a day. But more, yeah, I like those too. Then in the last year and a half, I'll have frozen blueberries for a dessert each night. And then I was pouring some maple syrup in there, to sweeten the pot. And then I got to a point where I was just drinking maple syrup, because I'm like, what I really like about this is just the fucking maple syrup. So why not just drink the maple syrup? And I had blood work done with Blokes, one of the companies I work with. Yes. And it came back as pre-diabetic, because I was drinking so much maple syrup at night before I went to bed. So I'm like, well, I got to stop doing that. That's not good. I still had a 6-pack, yeah, but my internal biomarkers were not pleased with all the maple syrup I was consuming. So yeah, I mean, I have a sweet tooth for sure. If I'm out at a restaurant, I'll get dessert. I mean, for me, honestly, one of my great qualities is also a fault, in that I'm very type A, and progress is what makes me happy. I have a very tough time, just not doing anything. And, I think that can be a fault sometimes. Like, I don't enjoy going on vacations and just checking out and not doing anything, to the point where, sometimes I will, burn myself out, and I'll overcommit, I'll overdo, I'll overachieve, I'll do too much. And I get to a point where I'm like, fuck, I don't like that anymore. That happened with triathlon, honestly, is that, I took it to the extreme, and I got to a point where, 90% of my workouts I no longer look forward to. I hated it, because I went too far in one dimension of endurance training, and I beat my body up with the high volume of running and CrossFit that I was doing. So, that would be my biggest fault, is just, I'm obsessed with progress, and, I don't take breaks often enough to, just kind of reset my nervous system.
Yeah. Yep. There's Abe Lincoln, everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. You look at some of the healthiest countries, and oftentimes, they're doing everything in moderation. They're walking. They're not like lifting crazy heavy weights. They're not doing marathons. They're walking a lot, and they're not overeating, and they have great friendships, and I really do believe that the healthiest lifestyle is probably a more moderate lifestyle. It's not the way I'm wired, but I think if you want to maximize your lifespan, then probably moderation in most things is going to be your best bet.
Yeah. Imagine you get a lot of people asking you for fitness and health tips, right? I think it's probably like littered just by the nature of it. But like, what's like for someone listening, like how do you crawl, walk, run with this thing? It's like with kind of that shift into a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah. I think the first thing in anything to be successful is find someone who's gotten where you want to go. So I hired a personal trainer. I hired someone who had more knowledge than me around the topic of fitness. And then I paid him. I had accountability to him. I had in my calendar 5 days a week at 6 a.m. I was going to train with him for 45 minutes. So, I took I took the motivation out of it and I just made it habitual. And I think that's super important with anything is like motivation wanes, especially for me throughout the day. So I try to make anything that I want to do regularly a habit and just do it enough that I don't think about it anymore. And I just do it day in and day out. And then, starting obviously is going to be the hardest part of anything you do, is just making that first step of saying, okay, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to do this. But yeah, I mean, I've had coaches through the years, business coaches, triathlon coaches. I follow someone else's CrossFit programming right now. So, find someone who's gotten where you want to go. I think that's the only way to really hack success in anything.
Where can everybody find everything you've got going on, what you're up to, all those things?
Yeah, Instagram is best. Just my name, Eric Hinman. EricHinman.com is my website where there's more.
Sweet. Man, a lot to live up to, but that's what we're about. We're about motivating. We're about getting people in their highest vibe. And Eric, you're putting people in the right place. You're doing the right things. We really respect what you're doing.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you for having me on.
Hey, guys, vibescience.media. You'll see all the highlight clips, all the links to the full show, and everything that the badass Eric Hinman is up to. For Chris Hansen in Miami, I'm Ryan Alford. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science.
Content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.